If you want to talk about it epistemologically, it is our epistemological accessibility to cognition, our ability in a Kantian sense, right? The condition for the possibility of knowing, right? And that's, in a Kantian sense, the synthetic a priori, categories, sense data processing, blah, 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 right? All of that's given. So if you want to talk about it linguistically, it's given. If you want to talk about it socially, it's given. If you want to talk about epistemologically, it's given. It's already there. The substrate is already there. It exists independent to my existence. I was born into this existence. Insofar I was born into this existence, right? I recognize that there are already pre-existing power structures. There are already pre-existing power structures, including something as trite and mundane as older people. There are already older people in this. This is a really gross example. So that when I go to the corner and I ask the big boy, hey, let me get a cigarette, and he looks at me and says no, but he's smoking himself, I recognize the denial. I come to see self, me, I, in relationship to the power structure that has denied me, to the given that is there as pre-existing for the purpose of denying me. He doesn't think that, right? He doesn't think that because one of his homeboys might be like, nah, man, come on, get a little shorty or something to smoke, man. Who cares? You know, you already know where he going. Social determinism. You already know where he going. Give him a smoke. No matter what happens, that system is already there. That structure of power is already there as given in order to deny your desires. No, you can't have it. Hey, Dr. Campbell, hey, could you do a lecture series on XYZ? Nah. Because I'm not interested in it. Right? You think I'm going to do a lecture series on something that I'm not interested in? I get requests all the time. Some of them I do, some of them I don't do. It's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot for you. It's not a crapshoot for me. I'm not going to do a lecture series that I don't have any interest in. Right? So everything that I do on this YouTube channel, this goes back, again, to egoism. This is another demonstration of why it's egoistic. Because I'm not going to do a lecture series on things that I'm not interested in. I'm not that altruistic. I'm not going to read text that I'm not interested in. Right? I'm not going to read text that I don't have, close to, if not expert level understanding of. I'm not going to do it. Right? So the idea that it's altruistic is ridiculous, right? The system is already in place, and the recognition of self is a consequence of the existing power structure's ability to deny. That's what it is, right? So let's read the advanced bullet point again. The ego exists to be censured. It is the act of censuring the ego via morality and moral dogma that creates the ego, right? And this all comes from Nietzsche. Read note 370 on your own. Come about your own interpretation, right? If you disagree with me. I think I'm right, but I think my interpretation is just one of many interpretations, right? I think there's many, many different ways to assess this. This note is not an easy note to understand. I recognize that, right? This note is very, very conceptually dense, right? And we haven't even gotten to the social yet. When I began the first 10 minutes of this section, I talked about the denialism and how that denialism manifests within our social setting. The power structure that exists to deny is so powerful now in the 21st century that we represent it on our bodies. All I see is skulls. I see skulls everywhere. I see skulls everywhere, and I'm all about that, right? So the sheep, even including my son, he's too young to understand. My wife, she's not a philosopher like me, so I just be quiet. It's all gravy. Let them rock the skull shirt. It's all good, right? But when they get older, that's when it's not time to just give my family what I'm giving you now. I'm actually giving you more than I'm giving my family because I have to keep a copaesthetic. I got to keep a smooth environment at home. Too much philosophy at the house can be a bad thing. But the idea is, I want to rock the shirt that says ME on it. It's all about me. Because that institution denies place filler. It's already in place before your existence. Who are you, dog? You're nobody. Who am I? You think Jason Campbell's of any importance? You think I'm of any significance in this world? I'm of absolutely no importance in this world. None. Right? I'm another freaking cog in the machine. My time will come like your time will come, and I'll be maggot food like the rest of you. Right? Why am I doing this? To better the world, to live forever, for immortality? No, because I'm freaking manic and I need something to do so I don't go ape shit. That's what this is about, right? So, you know, it's a way of preoccupying my time. I don't like leisure. I'm discomforted by laxed moments. So I work to fill that void, right? That power system is in place to say, it's over. You know, YouTube, it's cut. What are you going to do when YouTube gets cut, if it gets cut, right? YouTube's off the airs. What's going to happen to your life, right? You should recognize that I only put so much faith in the institution, whatever that institution is, because I recognize that the purpose of the institution, one manifestation, I wouldn't go so far as to say the purpose, but one manifestation of the institution, and by institution I mean all institutions, is the denial of the subject. So what Nietzsche is saying in a very sort of paradoxical sense is that we only come to know of the subject, this is note 370 sort of at its base, we only come to know of the moral subject as a consequence of the pre-existing systems in place which deny the subject his or her desires. And without that pre-existing social nexus in place, in which power imbalances creates the condition for denial, I wouldn't even know about the I. That's pretty damn cool. That's pretty damn cool. And I am very upset that I haven't seen more philosophers and junior scholars and advanced scholars writing on this. And like I said, once I'm done this whole Nietzsche series, I'm going to devote maybe a year and a half, 2 years to just writing some ridiculous text, freestyle philosophy off the top of my head, and just putting it out in the world and then calling it a night. But the idea is, you know, we can have a moral, conceptual, logical understanding of the I that is not rooted in psychology. And Nietzsche just spells it out. And then he translates it in a second to the social. So let's look exactly at how this manifests. So what I've done is I've taken that quote in 370 and I've depicted it visually. For me, visual depictions is, when I'm talking to you, all that I'm looking at in my mind are the pictures, and that's how I'm able to sort of keep the narrative sort of cadence and pacing to the lecture series, because it's a succession of images after a succession of images. If I were thinking in terms of words, this would just be, it would be too hard for me to access all that information. So we have the moral agent, and the moral agent has a desire. Right? The moral agent has a desire. I want X. Right? However, there's a moral law, if you want to go morally. And I'll put law in like scare quotes because it's not the real law. It's not like legal, socio-political law. It's like moral law. And the moral law denies me. This is given. This is given. Right? The moral law is given. The institution is given. In the example that I gave where the young boy goes to the block on the corner and he asks the big boy, hey, let me get a cigarette so I can smoke a cigarette. You can imagine a little badass 9-year-old, right? Ready for destruction, hell on wheels, and he's like, yo, let me get a cigarette. He immediately sees, oh my God, the technical term is, I'm contributing to the delinquency of a minor. He might not think that, but that's what it is, right? I'm contributing to the delinquency of the minor. Nah, you can't have a cigarette, right? So he denies me. That moral system is absolutely interchangeable with a social system, with social institutions, with individual people within the social. Big boy on the block denying Junior a cigarette. Yo, let me get a cigarette. Nah, man, you can't get that, man. I'm sorry. Right? I want to have sex with this other person. The law says, no, you can't. It's immoral. So the idea is that we have desires. Our desires are directed outward, and there is already a pre-existing institution of power in place which manifests its power, at least in one part, by denying us the very desires that we have. It is this denial